Good morning, and welcome to Learn with KBLIC. This morning we're going to learn about how to use SketchUp. So the version of SketchUp that we're doing or using today is the SketchUp free edition on the web. So my name is Amber, and I'm a business and technology librarian at the Boston Public Library and at specifically the Kirstein Business Library and Innovation Center. And today we're gonna have a little fun making a shed in SketchUp Free, which is the web app. So you can see a sample here. We're gonna be making this little doodad, and I'm just doing a little check. And you'll be able to see we're gonna make this today. And you can follow along at home, and if you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to us at ask@bpl.org, or you can participate in the chat on the side today. So we'll start by just explaining what SketchUp is. So I'm just going to hide that off to the side. But essentially what SketchUp is, it's a 3D modeling program. And it's used in a lot of architectural applications and interior design, but I think folks use it for video games as well. You can import your own textures, and you can sort of make your world look pretty cool. So I just made this fun little shed here just to demonstrate what you can do with it. You can put glass in the windows and do some fun stuff. And so we'll just be getting a taste of what you can do with SketchUp. So we'll give you a tour of the space over on this left-hand side over here. So you'll see the tools. We'll be using a number of these today. And in particular, ones I want to call out are this pencil or line tool, and as well as this Protractor tool, which is actually usually hidden under the tape measure. That is one thing I do want to point out, is when there is tools, there's a little arrow next to these. That means that there's like a stack of tools together, and there's stuff hidden underneath. So it'll be interesting to show you guys some of the other tools that they have available. Also, this circle tool is normally under the square. So there's like a bunch of stuff on this side. So I can zoom in and out. I just want to show I'm using a 3-button mouse. A 3-button mouse might be the best use for this. I have a hard time using a trackpad. But a 3-button mouse definitely helps when you're 3D modeling. So you'll hear me talk about the scroll wheel. This is the red wheel on my mouse, but it might be a different color on yours. And the scroll wheel lets you zoom in and out, and it also lets you orbit if you press down on it. So not scrolling motion, just pressing on the button. And this allows you to orbit. And what orbit means is move your object in 2 directions at once, or move through the 3D plane. So you can see I have the little icon there. There's also a little hand tool. If I hold the shift and the scroll button, I get that little hand tool, and that's the shift key and the scroll wheel, and that works for a Mac and a PC. So that's a little bit about navigating the space. So I can zoom in and out, I can orbit in any direction, and I can shift back and forth. On the right-hand side, we'll talk about some of these towards the end of the session today. There's a lot of fun things in here, including the textures and paints, as well as some other things called components and styles. And so we'll talk about that, and that'll add like kind of a richness to your design that you might otherwise not get. So what I'm going to do actually is, I don't want to save this. I'm just going to make a new one. So very similar to like a browser desktop application. I can actually just go to the home, new, or whatever. I forgot to mention how to sign up. I should pause there. SketchUp is a free account, and you can go to app.sketchup.com and you can just sign up. There are some premium features, so there's a SketchUp Pro. If you're a university student, depending on what program you're in, you might have access to SketchUp, so you can check that out, but your school might give you access. But for most folks, you'll be using the web version, which is app.sketchup.com. Or if you want to purchase, there is a pro version and there's some extra tools in the pro version that we'll go into a little bit later. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a blank work plane. So I'm going to go up to this top and I'm going to hit, oops, that's not what I wanted. I'm going to hit new. And they're like, save changes to current model. No. We're going to make a new one. So let's talk about what's going on in this plane. Now remember, I can zoom in and out using the scroll wheel, or I can press on the scroll wheel and move things around. So I'm just going to make this a little bit, oh, it's already bigger. Good. So I'm just going to point out these axes right here. The blue axis is sort of an up and down axis. And actually, I'm going to come back on the screen a little bit. So when you're seeing the blue axis here, it's up and down. And the green one is sort of back and forth, and the red one is right to left. These are important as we start building our geometry in the space because they help us orient ourselves. And you'll see that in a moment. Anytime you have something selected, you'll have this blue halo around it. There'll be either the blue line will be around it, or it'll be slightly shaded blue. So you can see that. And actually, I'm going to transition back just so you can see this a little bit bigger. So, and let me just check that. All right. So you see here we have this default thing. If you ever want to find out about a particular shape or piece of geometry that you have in your model, you can always click on the entity info. Now, Helen is an employee, I think, at SketchUp. It used to be this guy named Jake wearing like a plaid shirt or whatever. But this is Helen, and it'll tell you sort of, let me get rid of that. The stuff that's inside of Ellen, and you can hide her. You can lock her into place. You can change how she receives shadows and all that jazz. I'm just going to hide this really quickly. I can hit this arrow, or I can hit close this tray. But actually, I don't want Helen in my drawing at all. I'm just going to delete her. And I'm just going to do this by hitting the delete key on my keyboard. So, bye, Helen. You were in my way. That's something that we could do. So what I want to point out is we're going to build a shed. And so we have to think about the shapes of a shed. One of the recommendations actually that I'd like to point out before you even start modeling, the best thing to do is actually start by sketching out what you want and even putting down some measurements. It's helpful to figure out how wide you want something, where you want things placed. Because if you're trying to rearrange things as you go, it'll be a little messy. So I'm in my plane here, and I'm going to start off with this rectangle tool. So if I click, it'll explode out and you'll see all these other tools, but the default is this rectangle tool. Now, as you move through the space, I want you to notice something. This rectangle tool will adjust to show you the different angles at which it's drawing. So if I want to draw on the floor here, it's going to be drawing around the z-axis. I know that sounds kind of silly, but if I wanted to draw vertically, like the red axis would be going through the plane. So I'll show you in a minute. how that's going to look. And actually, let me make sure that this is big enough so you can see it. All right, cool. So I have my pencil. And what's cool is you'll see you can snap to particular points. So this point right here is the origin, 0, 0, 0, where all the axes meet. If I just click and drag, I can pull out my square here. And I can actually pull it in different directions. So you can see if it's going through the green plane, I'll have the green highlight here. And so I can just draw a square like this. But that's not necessarily what I wanted to do. I could do the same with the red as well. And if at any time you're drawing something and you goof up, you can hit escape. And that will help if you're drawing in the wrong plane and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to be doing that. You can hit escape on the keyboard. So I just want to draw a square here. I was trying to get it to go on the red. So see, you can move from plane to plane, but I just want to have a flat square here. So let's say I actually want a particular set of measurements. I want to highlight down here at the bottom right-hand corner. You can see the different measurements as I'm moving the pencil, the different dimensions of what's going on in that bottom right-hand corner. What I'm going to do is I'm going to key in dimensions. So the length, or actually this is going to be the width. It's going to be 10 feet wide. Oops, that's 10 inches. 10 feet wide. And then I'm going to put in a comma. And I'm going to make it by 12 feet. And when I hit enter, my dimensions are set. So here is my 10 foot by 12 foot base. All right. So I'll show that again, and Control Z or Command Z on a Mac is undo. I can just click. Oops. Let me hit that. I can just click and pull on my square here, and like I'm not clicking, I'm just holding the mouse, and I can just hit 10 feet by 12 feet. 12 feet. And here we go. Here's our base of our shed. Now, we can start by building the walls next. And I just want to pause and just see if we have anybody just chilling in here. Cool. I'm going to take a sip of my tea. And if folks have any questions, you feel welcome to put them in the chat. But here we go. So now I could make a number of squares. I could make 6 squares, draw them, and put them together. Or I could use the pull push tool. So the pull push tool is this tool right below the rectangle. And there's a couple of other shapes below it, or tools below it. So I'm going to use this pull push tool. And what you would essentially do is you would hover over the plane that you want to pull from. So notice that when I move over this particular plane, it becomes highlighted in blue. When I move away from it, it's gray. So I'm going to move over it and it's highlighted in blue, and I can just click and hold and pull it up. And I can key in measurements too. Let's say I want to make that 10 feet high. I can do that. Or I can say, oh, you know what? It should be 9 feet, not 9 inches, 9 feet. And I can knock it down a little bit. As long as I start keying. And notice that when I'm typing, I'm not clicking in this box. I'm just hitting the amount. So I could just make this 8.5 inches if I wanted to. And it will change it to the denomination there. So I'm actually just going to put this at 8.5 feet. And ta-da! We have our lovely 4 walls. Looks pretty good so far. And pretty minimal effort too. Again, we just use the rectangle tool to pull out a shape that we want to pull it from. I could have used a different shape if I wanted to. Underneath the rectangle tool, there's a number of bits of geometry, which I'll show later. And there's also this pull push tool. It allows me to pull things out, but also lets me to push things in to recede. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right. I want to add a roof. So what's the some standard pitches for a roof? Well, for every foot, you can rise 4 inches. So that's about 18.5 degrees. I don't know that off the top of my head. I literally looked that up. But this is one of the things I wanted to impress on you. If you are drawing or if you are modeling something, if it's a shed, if it's a little figurine for your Dungeons and Dragons thing or whatever, it's helpful just to sketch out some stuff first so you can get a feel for the dimensions that you might need. And it might be helpful, especially if you're making something that's a real world application, to look up those measurements beforehand. So if we use that pitch of 4 and 12, it'll be 18.5 degrees. So if I wanted to put a pitch on this roof and have it be specific, how would I do that? Well, this is probably the most complicated thing we're going to do in this lesson, but it shows you the capability and the power that SketchUp has. And hopefully with this little taste will help you sort of figure out, not figure out, but hopefully empower you to like make some fun designs. So, like I was saying earlier, underneath this tape measure, if you blow it out, there's a few options here, and one of them is this protractor towards the bottom. So in the bottom left here, we have the protractor, and I'm going to select it. Now remember what I said. Anytime you're moving along a particular axis, this will change. So there's also a couple of things I'd like to point out here too. If I'm hovering over a face with a particular tool, doesn't matter what, it will tell me on face and give me this little blue square indicator. If I'm on an edge, it will give me the red square and say on edge. If I'm on a point, it will say end point, and it will be highlighted green with a green circle. All right, and that's all independent of the orientation of this protractor. So you'll notice that as I switch sides that it's on, the rotation or the color of the protractor changes. So what this is telling you that if I have the protractor facing this way with the green, is that the green axis is essentially going through that, and anything that I'm doing will rotate on the green axis. If this is a little bit more evident on the blue one, you'll see like if I were to draw a line, it would be an angle around it, so it would be spinning around the axis. I was doing some motions. Oh, good, I am on the screen. So we don't necessarily want that coming across this way. What you do need to do is pay attention to how you want your roof. Let's say I want the point to be above this side. If I want the point to be above this side, I want it to be green. If I want the point on this side, I want it to be red. And this is a 2-step process. So I'll show it once and I'll show it again. So essentially what you want to do is you are marking where you want the hinge to be first. And then what you're doing is you're picking where you want the angle to be based from. So I am going to click on this endpoint, making sure it's green. And then I'm just going to click on the edge here. And then I can move this guideline. And remember, I can key in my dimensions. So I want this to be 18.5 and boom, there it is. Okay. So I'm going to show that again just so you can see. I'm making sure that it's on the end point. I know it's on the end point because it has that green circle in the middle. It says end point. And I also know that it's going to be on the edge that I want it because it's green, the protractor itself. If it were red or blue, I'd have to zhuzh it a little bit into place. So I'm clicking here. And then I'm going to click again because I want to move up from this edge. And I'm going to click 18.5. And boom, there it is. What's up? Now, what I have just placed in the guide or in my drawing is something called a guideline. This is not like a piece of geometry or anything. It's more of just like there to help me. And so what we're going to do is we're going to actually use this line tool now to fill in the rest of the roof. Now, we don't have to do this anywhere else on the roof. We just needed this one guideline because I'll show you why. What's really powerful about SketchUp is that it uses inferencing to help you sort of complete the shapes. So let me make this a little bit bigger for you so you can see. All right. So as I'm moving my pencil along the edge, you'll see again, I get that red on edge indicator there. If I move and you'll see something like this, that little blue dot, that's the midpoint, meaning that's the center of that edge or that line. And that's helpful for me to know. I can also move around on the plane and it will try to find the midpoints for me. So I can hit midpoint, midpoint. You can see this. So like if I wanted to draw something from the center, that's actually really helpful. And I don't have to do any advanced marking or anything. But what I'm going to do, and anytime you draw something, I would just like to encourage you to orbit once you're completed, because sometimes a shape might look like it's going in a particular direction, but it actually might not be. It's just based on the perspective. This is a three-dimensional view, so like I might have accidentally had the line going this way, but I wouldn't know until I rotated it. So that's just something. And you can go quickly into the orbiting tool again by hitting that 3-button mouse, the scroll wheel. So I've found the midpoint here, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to pull up to the line here, and it's going to say on line. Boom. Okay. Pretty easy. And then I can go here and click to the endpoint again and make a bit of geometry. Well, that was pretty simple. Again, the whole power of SketchUp is it's getting you from endpoint to endpoint. So I can actually start at this endpoint. So I got this nice green indicator here, and I'm going to hit endpoint. Okay, cool. That's exciting. Now, what I want to point out here is this is now made a shape. It's made a flat shape inside. And all of the shapes sort of, as you're building them, are these flat, sort of volumeless pieces of geometry, like they're little sheets. So you can see the area of this underneath. Now you're thinking, oh crap, I've got to do that protractor thing on the other side. Not so. What I can do is if I orbit this house just right, I can find the midpoint here. And if I pull my pencil up, it's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I move this. You'll be able to see it better. If I pull it up, it's a faint green line, but essentially what's happened is SketchUp has said, oh, you just made this vertex, this point on the other side, and now you're coming up from the middle on this side. You probably want them to be even. So if I click here and draw down, I have this point here, and I can actually click and go across, and you should be able to see the green endpoint to endpoint, and essentially I can build my roof like this. So I'm just going to go, and I'll show that again, maybe from a different angle, so maybe you'll be able to see it. So what I did was I found the midpoint, and then I'm just going to pull up. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I found the midpoint. And it's being mean. Sometimes you have to find the right view to do it. It's not going to let me do it now. Hold on. Of course. Well. It's not doing it again. It's being finicky. Oh, well, if that happens, you can always just, draw up like this. It's not a big deal. I'm going to hit escape. And then I'm just going to pull the line across, and we can use the inferencing to just grab onto that line. You'll see I have the indicator that it's on edge and that it's green. And the line is green, meaning it's completely parallel. And so when I click, I confirm that line, and I can pull that down and pop those onto the corner. All right. So I'm going to pause here and see if there are any questions. So what we've done so far, if folks are just joining us, is we actually just made this 3D barn shape. Or not barn, but shed shape. And we've just drawn these lines on. So now we have some extra lines, and they look kind of ugly. So how do we get rid of them? All right. Let me just see if there's any questions. Nope, I don't see any right now. I'll just wait a second more just to see. There's a little bit of a delay, but I'll just show you. On the top left-hand part of the screen, you'll see underneath this pointer, which is the selection tool, you have this eraser. I can just erase these lines. Ta-da! Clean model. And I can also erase this guideline too. I undid that because I want to show something. I'm going to click on that guideline, and we'll come back to this later. So I'm going to use the select tool, and you can use this select tool to select, it's just a mouse, but select a line, a segment of a line, a whole shape if you wanted to. And I'm just going to select this guideline here, and I'm going to right click and bring out this flyout menu here, and I'm just going to hit hide. What's cool is maybe there's some other geometry that you're building in SketchUp and you can hide it. And that can be really, really helpful later on if you're trying to like replicate something, or maybe you need to line something up with this roof line for whatever reason. All right, so let's add some other geometry to our shape. We can start by fiddling with the roof a little bit. So let me make this bigger for you guys. All right. So I can add a little dimension to this, and I can actually have the roof sort of pop up instead of being flat. I can use that push-pull tool again, and I want to show you something cool. So if I pull this up, let's say I want it to be at that particular height, I can add dimension to the roof like this. Anytime I pull up on a particular surface, SketchUp remembers that. So that 2 1/15, 16th inch height for whatever reason, let's say I want to repeat that on this side, any surface that I click on after that will be, it will expand, or it will pull it or push it the same amount. So if I double click, boom. And so I'll show it again. So I double click. So anytime you do that, it will pull it out. So actually, I'm just going to pull this again. Oops. And there is something I wanted to do. So if you hit the control button on the Windows, and I believe it is the command button on Mac, you'll notice this little plus sign appears next to my pull push. If I pull this out, and let's say I want to make it 2 inches, not 2 feet, 2 inches, I can do that. Now, if I double click again, notice that it doesn't automatically do that. I have to hit the control key to get that little plus sign, and then I can double click. But it saves that little bit of measurement. What I'm doing now is I'm just closing up the roof to make it a connecting endpoint to endpoint. So I'll go in slowly and I'll just show you. So like I'm just going endpoint to endpoint and it closes off everything. Super simple. And as I clean up, actually, let me turn off my email in the background because I'm hearing it and we don't necessarily want that going off while we're doing the class. So now I've expanded those things. Well, let's say I wanted to add more dimensionality to this. I'm just going to go back to that pull push tool again, and I can pull it off. I can pull it this way. And like I goofed a little bit. I'm going to hit escape because I want to double click. Oops. It saved that 2-foot thing. Boo. That's annoying. So I'm just going to pull it out 3 inches. And if I go over here, 3 inches, 3 inches, and 3 inches. And again, it's because I pulled it out that amount beforehand. So, and I'm just orbiting around. Always check your design. You should always check your design. So I'm just going to shift this a little bit now. I'm going to hold the shift key and then the scroll wheel to push this because my orientation got a little goofy. So again, by holding the shift and holding the scroll wheel, I can just push things up and down in one dimension rather than keeping rotating. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to add a door. All right, so you can actually draw on surfaces. So I can draw on a line using the line tool here. And let's say I want to draw a door right in the center. What I can do is, let's say I want to make my 81-inch door. I can type in 81 inches, hit enter, and I have a line here. What I've done is I just made sort of a bit of reference geometry. So I'm going to use this line because I want the door to be in the center of the face. And so like if I want my 32-inch wide door in the middle here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 16 inches on either side. So I'm just going to do 16 and pull it down. And you can see that it's completely vertical because it's blue. If it wasn't, it's black. And I'm just going to make sure it's blue and says on edge and click. It's perfectly straight. I'm going to do 16 inches on this side. It's blue. It's on the edge. It's perfectly straight. And then, boom. I got rid of that middle line. And now I have a door perfectly in the center here. Okay. So we have our door here. What we can do now is we can actually have a little fun with this. Our door needs a door frame. So underneath that push-pull tool, there's this tool at the bottom, and it's called the offset tool. If you hover over a particular shape, what you can do is you can create an offset. So what it'll do is it will take the outside perimeter of whatever shape you have, and it will make a perimeter outside or inside the shape. So I'm going to click on this, and you can see I can have like a nice panel in my door if I really wanted to, or I can put it on the outside. So let's say I have a 2.5 inch bit of frame around this. I can type that in and hit enter. Boom. Oh no, I have this little bit below. Well, as we saw before, it's really just easy to erase. All right, so I have this door frame. That's pretty exciting. Cool. Let's make a window. Just like our ability to make a window, our ability to make a door on this particular side of the house, we can also, instead of drawing with a pencil, we can draw with a rectangle or any shape, really. So I'll show you on this side something fun. So I want to make sure that that all my windows are at the same height as my door. For whatever reason, I want it to be even. What I've done here is I'm clicking on this endpoint, and I'm going to bring it to the edge here. And then I'm just going to bring it to the edge around here. And why I'm doing that is so when I draw my rectangles, they will hit the top of the door frame or be even with the top of the door frame. And you can do this. Pretty simple. And I'm going to draw 2 windows on this side. Here's a midpoint. Boom. All right. Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to free draw. And I'm going to draw a window on this side, and I'm just going to let it go. Doesn't have to be perfect. If I wanted to, what I could have done in this side is I could have marked a midpoint, and then using the rectangle tool, notice how we've been using the rectangle tool from the corner. If I hit Control or Command on a Mac, what I can do is I would pick, I could draw from the center, and I can move things to a particular size. So this isn't lining up with my other window, and that's okay. We're just going to have 2 different size windows just for demonstration purposes. And so I'm just going to get rid of this reference geometry here because I also want to show something to you at the end. We're going to draw just so you can see. There's different shapes that you can have. You can make something hexagonal or a triangle as well. Let's see. So here's a hexagon. For whatever reason. Oh. It's not letting me change the number of sides. You have the ability to change the number of sides. I might have goofed and forgotten how to do that. I thought it was the arrow keys, but that seems to change the orientation, which is actually kind of helpful to know. So you can use a circle, and I'm just going to put a circle in here. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the offset tool. So if I wanted a frame in here, I can do 2 inches. And we can do the frame again. I'm just going to do 2 inches. Yes. And then 2 inches. Now, if you remember the shed from the beginning, I had a little bit of extra dimensionality to those pieces of geometry. So they stuck out a little bit. Again, I just used that pull push tool. Where is it? under here. So let me just check to see if there's any questions. How do you delete the left? How do you delete the left overline lightning rod above the roof? There's two ways to do that. You can delete it from, you can delete any line actually. So let me go back. Sorry, I missed that question, Joel. So I can delete any line by using the eraser tool and clicking on it, and I can delete it. And so actually, this is what the inside of my shape looks like. So I can delete any line as long as I click on it and have it in that little circle with the eraser. So I can get rid of that particular line. Also, I'd like to point out that when you don't close off a shape, SketchUp gives you this nice little indicator. It makes the lines more bold just to let you know, like, hey, these haven't met an endpoint and you just have floating lines out here. The second way of doing that line or deleting something, removing something from the image is you can right click and you can hit erase just in general, or you can also hide something. So I can hide it. I'm gonna undo that, but I can right click and hit erase and I can hide that particular geometry. I hope that answered your question. Oh, old question. I'm sorry about that. I didn't see your question there. But if you have any other questions, hopefully I'll be able to see it. I missed it. Boop. So let's pull that back up. So let's add some geometry here. So I'm going to hit the pull push tool, and also you can hit P on the keyboard to get that. So P for pull and push. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that out. Oops. So this is why it's important to make sure you're hovering over the correct bit of shape. So I want this frame right here to be pulled out. So I'm just going to pull this out, and actually I'm going to knock it back to 2 inches. And remember our trick from earlier, if we double click, it will pull out those particular bits of geometry. And remember our other trick from earlier, if we hit the plus sign, it makes a whole new shape. So I'm just going to show something to you really quick so you can see this. So I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to hide that wall. When I make a new shape on top of a bit of geometry here, you can see when I did the push-pull just regular, it makes like it kind of embossed on the plane here. If I wanted to add completely new shape, I just want to reinforce this. By hitting that plus sign, this is a completely separate shape from this plane right here. If I were to try to move this, this would pull around on the plane. But this could be its own separate entity. So we'll hide this. And you'll see, actually I need to hide one of these, so we'll hide this as well. You'll see that this is its complete own separate thing. So that's something to be mindful of when you are designing something and whether or not you want something to be its own particular shape. Oops. So if we do the push-pull, we can also have a circular window as well. So now that we've got all of our geometry essentially made, and let me go check to see if there's any other questions. So let me make this a little bit bigger because I'm about to make your life so much easier depending on how complicated you're going to be making your certain shapes. So I'm going to go into the select tool here. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go into the color bucket tool. Now, the color bucket tool automatically pulled open this materials tab. And so just to point out, remember Helen earlier? I think that was her name. These were all the colors that were in Helen's model. And you'll see this by default. But if you want to add some textures to your model, what's cool is you can go over here into the search and you can add, for example, where is it? Roofing. So if I wanted to add a nice roofing shingle to my house here, and it might help to zoom in and out when you're doing this, you can do that. All right. I can also add colors. So let's say I want to paint my door frame a nice cream color. What I can do actually is I want to be able to paint all of these little facets. And again, this is just to let you know. So when I pulled out this section of the door frame, I just did the regular push-pull. So actually, I'm going to show you something really quickly. If I select this front face right here, if I right click, I can select connected faces. And what it does is it selects all the faces around. So be mindful of this, because you might not want to dye this particular floor a color. So I'm just going to paint that with a color bucket. But you can see now, this door frame is fully yellow, because if I were to just use the color bucket, it just paints that one side, and that can be sort of difficult if you're trying to paint a whole section of something, if that makes sense. So I can click on a particular plane, and I can hit select, and I can hit connected faces, and then go to my color bucket. Oh, I clicked again and it didn't. So we'll do select, and we'll do connected faces. Why is it doing that? Oh, it's being mean. Oh, there we go. I think my computer was just being a little slow, but it didn't grab. Rude. Let's try that again. There we go. It's selected. So now when I hit the color bucket on this, it should have yeah, there we go. So again, by clicking, right-clicking, and making sure that when you click, you're not clicking on a vertex or edge, and we'll hit connected faces. Now you'll see that all of these faces are connected or selected, and I can add the color bucket here. And again, we'll do this and we'll hit, see, I keep selecting this edge and I don't necessarily want to do that. So I'm going to select in here. I'm going to right click, hit select, connected faces. It's a little, you have to fudge it a little bit. Not fudge it, but just tap it a little bit. All right, cool. And you can go inside your model if you really wanted to. All right. So what I can actually do also is I'm going to paint the side of my house. I'm going to paint it a nice gray color. Why not? Boom. What's also cool about SketchUp is they have glass, so you can see transparency. So if I click on these, I can actually have a windows inside my little shed here, which is kind of exciting. And again, if you were to say download this as a SketchUp file or whatnot, or a STL file, thank you, STL file, for 3D printing or to put it in another modeling program. This glass isn't actually see-through right now. All this is doing is telling the program, oh, light can pass through this, but it's not deleted. It's a solid shape. Because you can actually tell SketchUp to cast a shadow or not to cast a shadow for a particular object, which is pretty cool. So this is only a little taste of what you can do. Now, let's say I actually really hate this color that I've chosen, this cream color. What I can do is I can click on this cream color and I can hit select, and I can also select something where it says all the same material, which is awesome because now all my frames have been selected and I can go in and make them all a nice light gray and be like, ah, that looks a lot better. And I can select everything that's the same material. That might be helpful if you're making an object and you want a really complicated bit of geometry, and as you're painting, as you're going along, it might be helpful for you to actually paint as you go, because I'm just going to click on the house edges so you can see. So if I go select all with the same material, then what I can do is I can hide all of these for whatever reason, if that's something I choose to do, or I can actually put them all on the same layer if I wanted to. I didn't talk about this so much, but if you go into, oops, that's not what I wanted. Where is it? It used to be in the free one. I wonder if they took it out. Hold on. I might have to click on something. Ah, entity info. Oh, they might have taken it out of the free one. But you used to be able to put things on. Ah, they changed it to this tags. So what I can do is I can tag this. I can add a tag by going to this plus sign. And I can call this walls. And I can select that. And what I can do is I can add this to the tag. So I can, I can add this to the tag, but it won't let me. Apply tag to current selection. So I'm gonna. So now that should be this wall over here. And you can change the color of the tag. Oh, this is so finicky. Let me see if that worked. Nope. I'm going to delete this because I might have to. Ugh. I just want to click on that little X. All right, we're going to make a new tag. Hey, it's not perfect. Every time you try to do, something perfectly, it never comes out right, right? So let's have a selection. So we'll hit add tag, or actually apply current tag to selection. Cool. No, it's not letting me do it. But the whole point was I was trying to show that you can tag things with a certain label so you can hide them later. You might want to do that, for example, if you want to have a particular view of your model. There is something I did want to show. Oh, let me get rid of this entity info. You can always click on the little X in the corner of these panels to bring them out. So let me just pull out this components over here. So SketchUp has Helen in there, and that was one of the default things, but I can search the 3D warehouse and I can put in a picnic table, for example. And this is probably going to break my computer a little bit, so bear with me for a second. I'm just going to pull this picnic table. in. Let's see if that worked. Usually you can drag and drop, or I might have to double click on it. There we go. Where is it? Sometimes it puts it somewhere weird. Okay. Select. Whatever reason, it's not putting it in there. Or it's going to put like 1,000 picnic tables in. But what I wanted to show was there are already pre-made things in this particular warehouse. And it would be cool if it showed up in my thing. I wonder if I have to hit this new button now. There we go. Download. You can like it, you can add to favorites, but you should be able to just drag and drop it into your 3D model. Let me see if I hit download. There we go. I had to hit the download button. Before, you used to have to drag and drop it into the model, but that looks like something new that they've added, which is kind of nice. So here is a picnic table, and I didn't even have to make it. There's actually a bunch of stuff in there that you can, and I'm just going to hit escape to deselect that. What's really nice is, I hope I typed in couch right. There's a bunch of stuff in here that you can do. I think there's Sony TVs in here, so you can play around. So like, here's a random like Sony laptop. So like, if you wanted to like make like a little house or whatever, that's something fun that you can do. And so you can do some decorating. Actually, SketchUp is used for a lot of interior decorating applications. So, but this is the model so far. I'm just going to hang out for a couple minutes just because I was a little late getting on the stream. But if people have questions, I'm happy to answer them. And so while I'm here, I'm just going to, goof around a little bit. I'm going to, let's see, instead of roofing, I can go to wood. I'm going to dye that, going to dye that wood color. And so I can also, I'll be funny here. So let me show you something funny. You might get a kick out of this. I'm just going to draw a circle here just so you can see. And then I'm going to hit escape. And I'm going to hit my scroll wheel, hit the shift button, and hit the scroll wheel, hit the shift button just to move over. I'm going to use my pull push tool. And I'm just going to pull it down. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to grab this and I'm going to make water here. Or what I can do is, oh, nope, cancel. Control Z. I can grab this top part and I'm going to delete it. And then what I'm going to do, or actually, nope, I'm going to grab this top part and I'm going to hide it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some tile. And then I'm going to go. And now you're probably wondering how you can unhide stuff. So what you can do is you can click and you can show hidden objects. So now I should be able to see my hidden objects or any guides that I have. Apparently not. So, I thought I just hid that. I might have erased it by accident. No? What should happen is there should be a lattice work that appears, but what I was essentially going to do is show you that you can have like kind of like a transparent layer of water over the top of the pool here. It's actually kind of fun, but you can goof around a little bit. Let's see. I have one wall color and I want to apply the same color to another surface. What's the easiest way to do that? Can two people with accounts view or share the model at the same time, or are there collaboration options? All right, so two great questions. Boop. So if you wanted to share this, I believe that is a premium feature. So you can also go up into the top. Yeah, I think that's for a premium feature. I actually am not sure. Let's see. Let me look that up. Share feature. Let's see. SketchUp. Oh, collaboration options are probably better. I don't want to give you the wrong information. And then the paint bucket, because it might not be available. Ah, it looks like there is collaborating options with SketchUp. But I don't believe that's available in the free version of the app, but I could be wrong. This looks like it might be the professional one. And you can look at pricing and models for that. But I don't see that. I don't see that in the SketchUp. Yeah, I think this is just for the pro account, which is a bummer. All right. Let's see. I have one wall and one color, and I want to apply the same color to another surface. What's the easiest way to do that? All right. So if I go back to my model here, let's say I want to paint this wall blue, or I can just color bucket everything. So I can, let me just change this. I'm just going to go, and actually I'll use cladding. Let's make this brick. If I click on this, I can make this brick, but also, I can't remember your name. Andrew, you have a great question. If I want to color more than one thing at a time, I could select all the same material, or I can hold down the shift key to select or to select all the same material. So it did that really quickly because it was already painted that particular color. So the other thing you can do is, before you do that, you can hold down the shift key if you've not painted anything with a material, and you can select all the faces you want and then hit the color bucket. If everything is the same material, you can click on whatever the material it is and hit select, and then all with same material, and then you can go and you can change it to select or to paint another wall like that. So hopefully that answered your question. So there's a bunch of ways to do that. And I showed that earlier with the door frame. And I'll show that to you again, because these faces right here are very thin. So what I'll do is I'll click off, so deselect. Let's say I want to repaint everything. If I click on this front face right here, right click and hit select, and then hit the connected faces to this, it selects all the same faces or all the connected faces to this. So I don't have to go around dyeing each little section. And then what I can do is I can go into my colors and I can paint it pink. And so I have a pink door frame now. So hopefully that answers your question. Let's see. Came in late. Can you add new windows in the blank walls? Yeah, you can. I was just adding a window. I'm sorry I made you. Sorry I missed your question Rabid Sam. I could actually draw a window now if I really wanted to. But it will be, so I'll show you exactly what happens now that I've added material to this particular wall. I was showing folks earlier, what you can do is you can find the midpoint. And so I'm just going to draw just so you can see. And I'm just going to add another window here. I'm going to hit escape because I'm done drawing. What I wanted to do is I'm going to find the midpoint between these two lines. And what I'm doing here, Rabid Sam, is like I'm just making some reference lines so that I know where to place my window, because I want this, let's say I want it centered on this particular facet right here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my rectangle tool. Oh, and just so you know, this is recorded, so you'll be able to go back to it and you'll be able to see everything. I can, if I hit the control button, draw out from this line, and I can draw a nice window on top. And I don't know if you saw this earlier, Sam, if you click on the lines, you can delete them, the lines you don't want. And then what I did for folks who might have missed was I just used under the push-pull tool, there's an offset tool. Ugh, and it's being mean. Hold on. So we'll do offset. And I'm going to do 2 inches. And Sam, you might have missed this. I don't have to, I can type, and in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen, it just starts typing in the dimensions when I hit the keyboard. And if I hit enter, it will make it 2 inches all around. So that's any measurement. You can start typing and it will change the line, change the width of a shape to that. And then what I can do is I use that pull function, and I'm just going to pull this out, and I can do 2 inches like that. And now I've made the window. Notice though that it has now, because I've drawn on something with material, that it has by default given it that material. So if I wanted to make this glass, I'd have to dye it. And then if I wanted to change this frame, I would do and color it a particular color. I would have to make sure I select it, and I'm going to hit select all connected. Oops, not all connected. That's the whole shape. Select connected faces. And then we'll do this salmon color. And now I've painted those, that particular window pink. I hope that answered your question, Andrew. Okay, cool. So what's really fun about SketchUp is this is all free. And there's 2 more things I want to show. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this entity thing, and I'm going to get rid of my sad attempt at a pool. And let's see, select all connected. And we're just going to delete that. I have this here. What I can actually do is I wanted to show you this. There's something called scenes, and they're actually kind of cool. So I can actually look at my model in an orthographic view rather than the 3-dimensional view. Orthographic view is really helpful if you really want to see the relationship between 2 objects. Like this takes away the perspective of the drawing. And I found this under the little scenes button right here. Let me get rid of some of these extra panels. Ooh, too many open. Hold on. Bye-bye. There we go. So perspective view, it's like our normal eyes, but orthographic view is everything is, you know, this will appear 10 feet tall or 8.5 feet tall, because it is 8.5 feet tall when I made it. This line will be, this door is 81 inches no matter how you look at it. But when you're in perspective view, because things are far away, they look smaller, it will do that. There's also some scenes here. So what you can do is you can actually have like kind of a fun model or a fun little video. You can make these. So with the actual Pro account, you can actually download the video and whatnot. So I'm just going to add this scene here. And then I'll add another one so you can see this. So what you can do is you can actually sort of play through these scenes, which is pretty cool. So like if you had like a model you wanted to show at like a design fair or something, you could do that, which is pretty cool. You can change the settings between these. In the Pro account, you can actually download those and like put that in like a video editing software with like music and all that jazz. But for the free one, it's just on web. But I wanted to show this because it's actually really fun a way of displaying something. And you can also change the style of how things look. So what this will do is it'll actually just make it look like a rendering or whatnot. So I've just hit this style. And let's see if it'll change. So you'll see here, it made it kind of like a funky little sketchy style. So you might even want to download a rendering of your object. Maybe for whatever reason you wanted this particular style as a promotional material or something, you could do that. And so you can hit export and you can download a PNG of this and have it saved. So I'm going to, oops, crap. Let me go back to the cancel. Cancel. Ugh, go away. Oh no, my computer froze. Oops. So that was my pool from earlier. Once you apply a style, I was trying to get rid of, cancel, the style that I've applied, but it seems to be cranky with me. But what I was going to say is, we'll ignore the style for now, but this is just how it's applied to the visuals of this. All my geometry is still there, so like the roof and windows and everything. I can actually save this project into a SketchUp folder, be able to open up the, oh, bummer. I'd have to add a new scene. Hold on. If you bear with me 1 second. Let me just see. Display capture. So you should be able to see I've downloaded this model and I've put it in a particular, this is like the actual 3D version of it. And the glass, if you remember, will be, oh, it's still not showing. Oh, that's frustrating. Transition. Oh, that's annoying. I was hoping that, there we go. Now you can see the model. So it downloaded the model. I hope. There we go. it downloaded the model and you should be able to see it. So, and this is what we would print out if our 3D printing services were active right now, but you can follow us on our website at www.bpl.org as we add more services in. So let me just switch back to the, well, I just learned something new about the streaming. Woohoo! Transition. All right. Cool. So I hope that folks had fun today. I keep minimizing this window and it keeps doing funky things. I hope folks had fun today. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me.